Have you ever stopped to think about how much goes into designing a game's puzzles? In this design run, we're going to be taking a look at the puzzle design in Playdead's Limbo. Limbo is a game created by developer Playdead Entertainment. It was released in 2010 on Xbox 360 and now has a version on a bunch of different platforms including Linux, iOS and Android. The game itself is a fairly standard puzzle platformer. Players can expect to push and pull things, jump over gaps, swing on ropes, and manipulate various parts of the environment in order to complete puzzles. Let's have a look at the design of the first few puzzles. Hi there, and welcome to the channel. My name is Giggity McD, and this is Design Run, a casual series of videos where we talk about the design of one game in particular. Maybe good design, maybe not so good design. And that is because here on the channel, we talk about the ins and outs of game design and what makes great games, so that you are equipped to analyze, discuss, and create great games. We first start in Limbo by waking up in the forest. As we are talking about level design in this video, I will skip forward to the first obstacle, not including this log. The first puzzle is this pit. I know, it's not really a puzzle, but it does introduce a few key concepts to the player, so let's discuss it. The first thing is, in order to cross it, the player will need to learn how to jump. This is a simple one since there are only 2 or so buttons in Limbo's control scheme. You may think this is fairly standard stuff, but jumping is also a crucial skill for doing just about anything in the game. And when the player gets here, the developer can be sure the player knows how to combine player forward momentum and jumping. There are a few other things this pit could introduce though. First of all, falling into the pit of spikes kills you. So the player learns pits are probably a bad thing. Through this action, they also potentially learn how the game's progression system works, that being checkpoints, but otherwise no penalty. The other thing I want to mention is the blurred vignette on the edge of the screen. If you can't see it, hopefully this will help. While this seems like an aesthetic choice, it does actually affect the gameplay in certain situations. Here you can see that it is at the right height to just blur the spikes a little. You can probably still work out what they are, but they aren't 100% clear due to this vignette. Anyway, once the player is here, we know that they can jump. Moving on. Just after the pit is this puzzle. The way it is solved is by the player pulling out this cart, climbing on it, then climbing up to the platform above. This is a bit more complex than just jumping over a pit, so there is a lot of small design stuff going on here. One of the nice subtle things about this puzzle is what happens when you get close to the cart. See that? When you get close, the boy animates up into a ready position. This is a visual feedback mechanism that tells the player that something in the game has changed. In this case, it's that they have gotten close enough to the cart to grab it. Press and grab then animates further by having the boy reach out and grab the cart and take up a different pose. The box also has a distinct handle that the player can see that affords grabbing onto. Sure, the designer could have just left the cart blank, but by adding the handle, they are subtly communicating their intent to the player. Moving on, when pulling the cart, there is a different animation to when pushing the cart. Another good example of subtle feedback. There is also an idle grabbing pose that the boy returns to when not pulling or pushing, so the player can visually see the difference. The cart itself has a rope attached to it that prevents it from being pulled out further than needed. This prevents the player from pulling the cart away from where it should be to solve the puzzle. They can't somehow pull it over here, for example. The player can't accidentally push the cart into the pit that they just passed, and it prevents situations like this. The rope is a subtle piece of design, but in the early stages of the game, it's important to make sure you are controlling the player's experience before removing the training wheels. Finally, there are a couple of animations here that the player might see, each communicating a small piece of the movement set for the boy. So now the player is here. The developer is sure they know that they can both pull objects and climb onto things. This next progression of play is interesting. I don't know whether it was intentional or not, but I thought it was cool. Every piece of this frame is a curved or faceted natural looking line, except the rope in dead center frame. This rock is curved, the cliff face on this side is curved, although it could have been sheer, the building is lopsided, even the cart has a loose panel. Then there is this rope, dead straight and dead center, demanding all of your attention. Anyway, there's this rope. Pay close attention to the positioning of this rope. The distance is a lot shorter than it needs to be. we know we can jump over a pit, which is this far. The reason this rope is so close is that no matter what you do, you will come off this edge and you will grab onto the rope. If you jump, you grab. If you run, you grab. Even if you tap right, you will grab. There is only one way to get around it, which is this. So assuming the player doesn't accidentally hold down, the player will grab the rope, introducing them to the rope mechanics. On the rope, you can move up or down, there is an animation for each, and the rope does ropey physicsy stuff underneath you, somewhat like a rope. Down here, there is a pallet attached to the rope. The pallet is there so if you accidentally do this, or if you accidentally release the rope, you don't fall to your death. It also prevents you from falling into this water trap that is out of sight in this frame. The next obvious thing is to jump onto this ledge on the cliff, where you can then see said water trap. This is where the vignette comes into play. Remember I said it affected puzzles? Well here, it's pretty tough to see the pit, hey? Hopefully, reflecting on our previous experience with pits, we will do a sneaky jump over this one. Now there is just some standard cave, then a nice little boat trip. Very cute. Only thing I will say about this is it's a good section of calm, slower pacing after the few puzzles we have just completed, to just relax and take a breather and maintain a different level of intensity in the pacing. Then our little trip finishes. We can't get up to this ledge. What do we do now? Well, if you have a keen set of eyes, you may notice an affordance we have already been taught. The boat has a little handle on it. Let's go down and see what happens. We see the buoy animate in. We can grab this. And so you proceed to pulling the boat out of the water. So far, if we can grab something, the object will have a little handle on it telling us that we can. Now that we have the boat below the ledge, we can jump on the boat and then jump off. This was originally intended as the first puzzle in the game. But the developers found that people didn't know how to drag things yet, and many people wouldn't make the connection between the little handle and being able to drag the boat out of the water. So Playdead added all of the stuff that we just went through so that they could better teach the core mechanics to the player. Now this section I'm in two minds about. The solution is jump on this vine, climb up, jump from the vine to the hanging rope, climb up, and then jump onto the edge of the cliff. This teaches the player that they can climb up if they didn't try it on the rope before. It also teaches the player it is possible to jump from a climbing action. I'm in two minds here because the vine looks thorny to me, and climbing a thorny vine seems unnatural. Although, on the other hand, it does make it less obvious, so the player does have to think about the situation. If it had been a really obvious climbable surface, then it would be a task rather than a puzzle that the player had to make a decision about. And that puts us at the top of this cliff. And this is where I might stop and come back for part 2. Part 2 is up on the channel right now, so if you haven't had your Limbo level design fill, you can head straight over and find it. The video is on the right hand side of the screen, and it's also in the description.